Welcome to Mindset, where we journey through the realms of mind and body to unlock the full potential of human wellness. Join your host, Alex Muir, as we explore transformative health hacks, debunk myths, and empower you with knowledge straight from the experts. Dive into each episode ready to flex your mind, body, and soul, because your ultimate well-being journey starts right here.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Mindset podcast. This is your host, Alex Muir, helping you flex your mind, body, and soul. And today's episode 109 is going to be about Beyond Nootropics, Peter Dubenski's holistic approach to peak performance and mental clarity. Now, me and Peter had an episode, it would have been like a year and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And Peter's a buddy of mine, and we go way back. What is it, like 18, 19 years as friends since grade 5?
Yeah, I think grade 5, yeah.
Yeah, we're in our 30s now, and want to preface this episode just like the last episode that we had. Again, this is our part 2, and just mentioning we're not doctors. We don't claim to be doctors on the internet. We're just, verbalizing our experience of how we navigate through life, supplements we take, dietary approaches we take. Doesn't mean they're the be all and end all, but it's just like modalities that work for us, and that goes with our psychology and stuff like that. So don't take anything verbatim. We're not doctors. We don't claim to be. These are just approaches, lifestyle hacks that we choose to use that work for us. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be back. It's been a long time, and even things that like doesn't work, it's a lot of it's trial and error, and we've been on this journey for a long time of trying to enhance our mind, our bodies. Just trying to help your audience come to a little bit of a better understanding of some of these compounds that we're using, and feel comfortable even talking to their doctors and trying them out and seeing if it works for them. That's what it's all about. We want to share the knowledge, and we want everyone to be healthy, fit, smart, and protecting your brain and really enhancing yourself. So that's the goal, right?
Absolutely. And like, that's what it's all about, right? And that's what the Mindset brand's all about, is like optimizing brain and body, and then, mind, body, soul. So, and then with doing that, right, we're going to run into some challenges. But we're also going to find some windfalls in there where we're like, oh, this is really working. Let's double down on this. And then if it's not working, okay, how can we improve it, or how can we adapt? And speaking of adapting and changing and kind of pivoting, like, you've been an athlete for your entire career, and then, you've transitioned into studying to become a nurse. Why don't you tell a little bit about the audience about like how kind of that experience has been for you, kind of maybe having to relearn how to study, like what study methods work for you, how you've had to kind of hone in your focus more, and then like what do you do to kind of stay dialed in, and if you need to stay up later or wake up earlier, what kind of like works for you?
Yeah, well, it's I've really tried to push my professional lacrosse career for as long as I could. Fortunately, father age sort of catches up with you, and you gotta realize, and you gotta make a change at some point. I had some injuries, and the job I was doing before, I just wasn't getting a fulfillment from it. And when you're in that sort of that lull, and you're just sort of there making the paycheck, that desire, that drive, we strive for that, and not having that, and realizing that my lacrosse is something that I wasn't able to do anymore. I just thought the nursing would be something that I've always been fascinated with: medicine, healthcare, helping people. So I thought it would just be a natural transition. It was definitely a little bit of almost a culture shock going back to school. It was been over 10 years since I graduated high school. So just getting back into that mindset, and really like, a lot of the studying, and just setting that timetable, just realizing, you have to dedicate, 2-3 hours a night of studying just to, make sure you're getting all your pre-readings in, and doing the best that you can do in a lot of the classes. Because especially taking like the biology and English, it's a bit of a change. So I powered through it, and it was a lot of fun though. Lot of lot of bit of a sleep deprivation, but it's going to be all worth it. And I know as a nurse, I'm going to be working long hours, so I got to get used to it.
Yep. And you absolutely kicked ass your first year. So props to you, bro. Like, it's not easy doing that full transition and then having to get your prereqs that you need and, upgrades courses and stuff. So it takes time, it takes diligence. And, I've always admired you for that. Like when you want to flip a switch, you can do it if you put your mind to it. And that's what it takes, especially becoming a nurse, right? Or any career change. You have to be super dialed in and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I got to do. No matter how painful it gets sometimes, I'm gonna do it at whatever it takes.
Yeah, and that was the big thing. It was like, with lacrosse, like it is a mental game, but as a goalie, but it's still that physical aspect. So it's like, I was working so hard keeping my body in tip physical condition, and then being able to transition that into working on my mind and making sure cognitively that I could, make that switch to, now I got to focus on my brain. Now I got to focus on my memory, my short-term, long-term memory, and being able to do a lot more like public speaking, things like that, presentations. It's just, yeah, it's just once you make that switch, you just got to be fully committed. And I know you're the same way, that when you set your mind to something, you're all in, and I think that's required, especially if you want to get a degree and you want to thrive in whatever career or whatever passion, hobby that you really want to dive into.
Yeah, and like that's the key word, all in, right? Like anything that you want to do, you just got to be okay with going all in, and even if it's uncertain. And that's what one thing COVID's taught us is, like, the world is really uncertain. The world will continue. The world will continue to spin and revolve and all that. But at the same time, like, the world doesn't stop. So whether we decide we don't want to do something or whether we decide we do want to do something, nothing's going to change unless we want to change or we decide to change. So that's a prime example, right? Especially with education, because so many people will go to school and they might oh, I want to do business or I want to do science, but then they get out and then they do something completely different. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with transitioning to something else. And I feel like we're kind of in a similar circumstance there, where like I've been in financial services for over 5.5 years now, and going on 7, I guess. And at the time when I started, I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm all in. This is what I want to do. I've dreamed about this since I was a young kid. But now it's like, cause I'm like, I want to help people too. Right. And yes, you can help people in financial services, but it's different. It's like, there's that target. You always have to hit a target while helping someone. You always have to get the sale while helping someone. It's, to me, it's been meddling with my morals. And like, yeah, it's part of the role, it's part of the profession, but I feel like I can help people in a very different way. I want to help people in a different way. And I don't think that fit for me is in financial services. I definitely feel like it's in the health space, like yourself. Like, it's a different thing, right? When we're helping people like improve their behavior, improve their habits, their psychology, their biology, right? Or sorry, physiology. And that's an area where I'm like, okay, how can I use my current skills and how can I transition to that? And that's why I'm like, well, why don't I think about personal training? Because everyone's like, I think about what people have like said that I should do, what I like to do. And then where's the gap? Like, where's that gap of where I can still monetize it and build a living off of it? And a lot of people are like, Alex, like you should definitely, like, you could coach people. You're a good mentor to people, right? You inspire and motivate people, and personal trainers do that. And then nowadays they're actually getting paid pretty well, right? Like, yeah, you don't make a ton of money right out of the gate, but there's opportunity there, and I can build it up. Like you said, I can do part-time, and then eventually down the road, potentially work for a gym. And then, so, with all that said, like, first order of business is I have my CPR and first aid, but I got to recertify. And then the next thing is to start that fitness theory course. So once I get that, I know I'm all in. So.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. Like, if you have something that you're passionate about, it's easy to put that time into it and then want to do it, because, it's not like a chore at the end of the day. You're doing something that you want to do, and it makes it fun and easy to do. Obviously not easy, it's still, you got to put in the hours, but
Yeah.
you want to, and
Yeah.
and that can be a big difference. And for even like going to school, both of us being 30 now, we're at that age where we have that maturity where we can offer that guidance and that help to younger, like even some of my peers, younger peers, offering, assistance, in studying tips, or, some of the things I do in my morning, evening care, like the routine, just being able to get out of that cycle, because a lot of them, they don't have those skills, and they haven't, learned those to break some of those bad habits, which can be detrimental for, if you're not getting enough sleep or anything like that. So no, and I think you'd excel at that, man. I know how many years that you've been busting your ass, and your shit when it comes to fitness, health, and I think it's a detriment to the world if you're not able to give that to others.
Yeah.
So
Like,
so
like that's the one thing, right? Like if you feel like you have a gift, you got to share that gift. You gotta share that knowledge, right? But now I just want to hone in on that knowledge and add and refine that knowledge and then share it. Because I feel
mhm,
like it'd be super beneficial, right? And I know a lot of people will gain a lot of value um, from that. So I'm excited. It's gonna be the dawn of a new era, and for both of us. And there's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot of growth. There's gonna be a lot of challenges. But like you said, when you're passionate, when you have enough passion for it, that will help us stick with it long term. Because my
mhm,
biggest thing nowadays, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but you're in the same boat too. Like everything that we do now, we're in our 30s. We're really thinking long term. We have to stick with it for the long haul. Because if we don't stick with it for the long haul, that's more detrimental. And that's something that I've realized coming to my 30s. Like, yeah, I don't want to do the trend. I don't want to transition again, but I have to, because it's going to create long-term longevity and long-term growth for me, because I'm the most passionate about that area of interest that can
mhm.
still build an amazing life, right? And if we want to feel fulfilled, if we want to last long term in something, we got to be super passionate about it. So
Mhm. And fortunately for us, like our responsibilities sort of allow us to make these transitions. We both don't have the joy of having young families yet, but I think that's in your future, and that's certainly in my future. I want to have kids, and while I'm still well, I still don't have any kids, then I can make this transition and not, feel guilty, and not put my family in distress over something I want to do. And I think that makes it a lot harder when you have those responsibilities that are higher on that list, to make a change like this. But fortunately, we sort of can, and so, I think, the sooner the better. Once you need to find that passion, you need to know that you could do something for the next 30 years, 35 years. So,
yeah, absolutely. It's like it's all about the longevity there, and like we we having that mentality of, okay, like the next thing I decide, got to stick with it, because I know 100%, like kids are coming in the next few years, and I'm prepared for it, right? I'm like kind of like,
mhm,
I'm psychologically preparing for it, but I also want to be physiologically, right? Because like to be a dad, I'm gonna need tons of energy, right? And I already have lots of
mhm.
energy, but I need to have more, because I know there's gonna be phases where I'm more sleep deprived, and I'm gonna be like, a little bit more grouchy, and
Yeah.
so knowing that, it's like, I want to prepare my mind and body for that for the best way I can. But there's only so much you can prepare, and you just got to roll with the punches as well. So, but yeah, let's talk about, you're talking about your morning and evening routine. How is that different now than it did before? Now, you've always been a pretty good at being an early riser. Are you getting up like around 6:30 in the morning, or 7, or give yourself a couple hours or an hour to study in the morning and then the rest at night? Or how's your protocol working for you?
Yeah, I've been sleeping a little bit more since I've been off school. I don't have a full-time job currently, so I get the benefit of catching a few hours more sleep. So, but I'm usually around like 7:30, 8ish. Very similar routine, but yeah, just trying to make sure I get up, get like at least like a full thing of water, 750 mLs of water, and then sort of get that to start my day. Try to stay off the phone for the start, like, but just like get out of bed. I think that's the biggest thing. Is just not laying in bed, because then you're just procrastinating, and then you get worse. And I went through phases of doing that, like and you don't even realize it sometimes. Like you get in these like sort of these little like depressant states, um, and you think you're just trying to get those little dopamine hits from like content or scrolling through videos online, and it could be like it could really mess you up, I think, and that could change your brain for the worse, I believe. So just eliminating that, just getting up in the morning, making sure I could get outside, get some sunshine, and then start the day off. I think that's really important.
So you take the Andrew Huberman approach, like jump out of bed and then try and beeline it for the sunlight.
Honestly, I try to mimic a lot of what he says. I think he's incredibly smart, and he's got a lot of good things to say, and he's got a lot of knowledge. So, but yeah, I think that's definitely important.
Yeah. And then for focus, for studying, or actually let's go to that after, but for like do you eat pretty much the same thing on a daily basis for breakfast, lunch, or do you like to kind of vary the lunch and dinner and then eat kind of the same thing every day for breakfast?
I've been actually changing it up a little bit. I mean, going through Instagram and finding like little meal prep stuff. So, but I always try to keep it like very simplistic. Like I always sort of have eggs in the morning, whether that's with toast or potatoes, something like that. And then I like to have like a chicken meal, and then I usually like to have like a red meat meal. So whether that's like extra lean ground beef or bison, or to have like a steak, just to get just sort of a mix in. I love to have fish when I could get. I don't. I'm not very good at cooking fish, so that obviously limits my abilities to eat it more. But my dad's always smoking salmon,
Nice.
and I try to get as much as I can.
Do you got an
But
air
yeah,
fryer?
I think yes, I do, and I use it religiously. It's
Look up a
my
recipe
favorite.
for sockeye salmon or coho in the air fryer. It's like I've been doing that lately, man. And it's like chef's kiss. It's like the most
Okay.
tasty, just olive oil, like the no salt seasoning from Costco that we always used to get,
Hmm.
salt and pepper. That's it, and
Hmm.
it's just unreal. And then I prefer the coho, just because again sockeye salmon's a little more leaner, right? So it'll dry out a little bit easier. But man, putting those fillets in the air fryer is just like tasty.
Yeah, and they're the natural omegas, right? And the omega 3s, omega 6s, like those are so crucial for just like feeling better and for your mind. I think it's crazy. It's like one of those meats, those proteins that are just so high on the list for like the nutritional value that they provide.
And then what do you has there been any changes because again you're still playing sports, right? You've been in the NLL, National Lacrosse League. You're playing for the Timbermen right now in goalie as well. Have you had to increase the calories at all, or is the calories pretty much the same? Or because I know you're doing a lot more cardio again, so any changes there, or how much of a budget do you allocate for your grocery bill?
I'd say it's pretty similar. I don't make a lot of changes. I would say more it's like I try to eat less like at home, because I'm on the road more, and so I'm eating out a little bit more. So I know that I need to compensate for that, because anything you're getting when you're eating out, like when we're on our ferry rides, if we're getting a burger from their White Spot cafeteria, it's going to be super high. So, just making sure I'm smart with that. But also like, while I'm still playing, like you need those calories for that extra energy, a lot more carbs, but it's more like, I just focus on like trying to maintain throughout the week my regular diet. But then like when it comes to game days or the night prior, I try to get in a little extra carbs, because I know then I can use that storage, for energy during the game, which is when, when you're expulsion of, everything. So yeah, just trying to it's more like a timing thing, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm really trying to work on that lately too, because some days, like with work, it's crazy, right? Like you're having a day and it's like, sometimes me and Ashley don't eat till 8 o'clock at night, right? And then we don't finish eating till 9 because I'm such a slow ass eater. But yeah, it's like, because the biggest thing, because I'm having a podcast guest on for Sunday, August 4th, and he's a physician. He's from Norway. And so that sneak peek on that coming up. But yeah, he talks about, trying to do like kind of a short fast, like kind of how we already were doing, right? Like 12 hours, right? You're only eating between the hours of like 12 and 8 or 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., right? I'm on no more eating after that. So, yeah, so I feel like I kind of did that today because, you just get busy, right? Sometimes I like to dive right into my creative work when I'm off work. And then I had the dentist appointment today. So I didn't eat anything until like 1 o'clock today. It's just the way the day worked out. But nowadays I'm just noticing that when I was doing a shitload of intermittent fasting, I was getting more gut unrest. It was causing too much like digestive upset for me. And and that's also because I would, I would go from eating nothing to eating because I'm starving, I'm eating like everything at once, right? And too much strain on the digestive tract. So I've dialed the fasting like way back over the last few years. I know my body could like flick the switch if I wanted to, but again, it would have to be slow transition, like kind of like how I did today, right? Where, okay, as soon as I feel hungry, then I like to do a protein smoothie because it's easy on the digestion and it's mainly liquid, and then I can have like a light solid meal, right? Like eggs and oatmeal or whatever. So, but yeah, like you were saying, just kind of to stave off the caffeine a little bit later. Haven't been doing that lately, but I do notice a difference, right? Where I'm not getting the tremors or feeling as anxious when I just drink it first thing. But like you said, if you're gonna have it first thing for the caffeine, drink like a ton of water first.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I did the fasting too, and I think you really got to just play with it and see how your body reacts. Like you're a guy that's like, you never really struggled with weight, so it's a lot of people use it for weight loss, but I mean, I personally used it just to see if because I know that you can get some of like that mental clarity, like when you go a certain amount of time without it, and you can like drain your stomach. So I was using it more for like the digestion and the mental clarity than I was as like a weight loss program.
Yeah.
So it's really finding out what you're using it for, and then going about it. Like I think I did the longest one I did was 80 hours, I think, and that was it was intense, but it you really know kind of like where your mental sharpness is, and sort of your resistance to cave into those cravings. So it's just kind of experimental, right?
Yeah.
See what works for you. There's going to be days where you're so busy you're going to go 12 hours without eating, and that's fine, right? But yeah,
it's just not to put too much pressure on it, and listen to your body. That's something I'm doing nowadays, and I know you're doing that as well, is like way more listening to the body, not like redlining it or pushing things blowing past our limits all the time. Because it's important to stretch our limits, but not always blow past them all the time, because that puts a lot of extra, when we're already a little bit stressed with the cortisol is a good hormone. It's just when it's constantly being redlined, that's not good, right? When we're constantly overdoing it all the time, which I always used to do. Well, both of us used to do, right? We're just like, no, more is better. 1,000 times out of 1,000,
Well, that's what it's like when you're in your 20s. You don't realize it's the consequences of your actions, because you think you're indestructible, and it catches up to you pretty quickly. It's not something that you can maintain long term. No, it's lessons that you learn and you grow from. So
and that's the maturity we're talking to.
Your younger audience, take it from us. There's only so much you can rev that engine at the red line before something's gonna burst or something's gonna break, and whether it's minor or major, it's something that you really got to be cognitive of and watch out for.
No, absolutely. And what is some kind of recovery? Because I know we're both obsessed with ice baths. I love my ice bath.
Mm-hmm.
Peter loves his ice bath. And it's like Pete, you said you did a sauna, cold plunge, and workout last night, right?
Yeah, I got a little steam room in too, just to try to clear
Excellent.
out some of the sinuses. The
Yeah, yeah.
allergies have been awful here, and
Yeah, I didn't
something's
want
going
Peter.
on.
I did
So
not want Peter to miss this episode because I knew it would be good because we got lots of juicy content for you guys. But like you sound way better because last night you were like hacking up a lung with all that phlegm. So
got a lot out this morning.
yeah, and like colds and everything are going around. And believe it or not, even though it's the summer and we're in the heat of the summer, it's like pushing into July. We're gonna have another heat wave come next week.
Mm-hmm.
People at work and stuff have been getting COVID. Like not a ton, but it's been going around enough that people have been getting sick and they've been dropping like flies, and then they've had to take time off work. So it's going around, and it's like you're not hearing about it much, but it is going around. So everyone, just a food for thought. Just sanitize, hydrate, eat good, sleep good. Because I notice, and this is probably very similar for everyone else too. Is like as soon as the sleep starts to go, or you're not sleeping enough, your immune system just gets like attacked, and then you're just like, boom, cold, boom, sick, boom. Oh my gosh, I need to take a day to recover.
Yeah, or a week now.
Yeah.
Feels like, yeah.
And what else was I going to say there? Yeah, we talked about caffeine. We talked about training. Oh, yeah. So is the training still like about, you still training for about like an hour? Or are you keeping it to kind of like 40 to 45 minutes? Like with that's with your warm up, cool down, and then the weight training?
So I'd say like overall, like if I'm going in for a weight session, it would be about an hour 15. Hour 15 to max an hour and 30. But I always do like the first 30 minutes is like a warm up and like full stretching routine. So I do some form of cardio for 15 minutes just to get the blood flowing and everything, and then long stretch, making sure I go through like the entire body, rolling everything out before. So when I'm actually hitting the weights, it's really only for about 45 minutes, but I go fucking hard. So it's like it's the intensity, like that's all you need. If the intensity is there, you could do a 30-45 minute workout and you're absolutely gassed, and your muscles are crushed. So so that's been working for me.
Yeah,
But
like
with lacrosse, I've only been going like maybe 2 to 3 times a week at the most weight training. But I just try to work in a little more like I'll combine body parts, do like a push pull day, try to work in legs when I know I have a little bit of a break. So I'm not absolutely sore for when lacrosse is, but yeah, just trying to find that balance, that routine.
that's solid. Yeah, because I like the recovery component and warming up and cooling down. I'm basically spending as much time with warm up and cool down as I am with the actual training. Because the way I do it, because I work out from home in the garage, is just the adjustable dumbbells, right? I keep it to about 30 or 40 pounds. That's pretty much the max I can do when I'm doing this hit. And I just put on that Tabata timer, 20 minutes, 30 seconds on, 10 seconds rest, 10 rounds, 10 exercises per round, 30 rounds total. So I get 30 sets in total, and then 3 sets basically per exercise for chest, shoulders, legs. So I'm condensing a lot of movement into a really short period of time, but I'm absolutely drenched by the end of it. So, and then I can only do that 2 to 3 times a week because it's so intense. And then I need that recovery, right? I need almost 24 to 48 hours between sessions because it is so intense. But I like doing that more rather than being there for 45 minutes to an hour. If I'm going to go to the gym, I'm definitely going to do it for 40 to 45 minutes for sure, or an hour, because I can take my time. I can lift heavier weight. And I can still lift heavy weight at home, but like when I'm on my own, I don't got any spotter. I only push it so far. So, but because I'm kind of off creatine and all that, and I've been trying to dial back the supplement spending, I'm literally, I just bought from Costco that optimized whey, right? Where it's the whey concentrate, whey isolate mix. And then just what else do I have? Just magnesium. I'm pretty sure that's the only 2 supplements I'm really on right now. And then I've depleted my medicinal mushrooms one too, but the supplements are so much goddamn money, man.
Yeah, they're certainly not making it easy to stay healthy these days. That's for sure.
God.
Whether it comes from food or supplements. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good, and it really depends on your goals, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, if you're wanting to like sort of like bodybuild or getting into that route, like you're gonna go a little bit more because you're wanting to isolate more of the muscles and try to get the most like atrophy out of that muscle group. But yeah, for us, like more, I'm doing it now, like just longevity, being healthy, being able to move, play any sport that I want to play without any hindrance. Like that for me right now is the most important. And my job, like being able to perform all my duties and not have, you know, an aching back at the end of the day, or, you know, sore neck or shoulders or anything like that. Like it's really what I'm focusing on now. So, yeah, you know,
longevity, functionality, like having all those muscles functional, jumping, running, walking, like our ancestors, right? Like going back to the absolute bare bones basics seems to do like it, right? Like it does a lot for our like physiology and stuff, like, because that's the way we're meant to move, right?
mm-hmm.
Have you ever listened
Absolutely.
to that audiobook or read that audiobook, Spark?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it was one that was one of the first audiobooks that I read because it was recommended by Mike Chang from Six Pack Shortcuts.
Okay.
And I listened to it, and it was actually really good because he talks about the author talks about like all the case studies and stuff about like how, you know, how often exercise, but the intensity behind exercise and all that. So it's like we don't need as much time. We don't need to spend as much time as we think we need to, right? Of course, they recommend 150 minutes of activity a week, moderate intensity, right? And then if it's higher intensity, like cut that in half, like 75 minutes, right? But of course, walking, one of the most underutilized exercises. But you know, our ancestors, like our like we would walk long distances to, you know, hunt, like for hunting and gathering. And so like walking is so good for our health. And that's something, right? Because me and Ashley got our dog, so naturally, like I'm like, okay, he's got to be exercised, right? So it's not even a forethought. Like we know, like either I got to walk him in the morning or walk him after work, and that's always minimum half an hour to almost an hour. So and you feel so good afterwards too, right? And then when we go on our walks, that's when I come up with my best ideas for content and just talking about the future, talking about, you know, fun stuff we got planned, you know, with friends, family, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like, you know, our society has become so sedentary. You know, we're a lot more working from home, office jobs, things like that. So it's something that can easily get neglected, but it's so important. You know, we've just started picking up our golf game. So, you know, walking all 18 holes. You know, don't rent that cart. Get, you know, get out on the course, walk, and
the average 9 holes for golf, the amount that you walk, it equates to like 15 to 20,000 steps just walking on the golf course. So that's pretty stellar. So yeah, but so what kind of supplements are you on right now? Are you taking like creatine, greens, protein powder, and then some other ones, or is that kind of like the bulk of them?
It's a bulk. So like every morning I do my Cyto greens, apple cider vinegar. I have my fish oil, and then I usually do liver tablets, NAC, and L-theanine, GABA as well. I do GABA, so that's my morning. And then I also mix a mushroom blend. So you got like your lion's mane, turkey tail, things like that, cordyceps. So I mix that with the greens. And so that's my morning. And then yeah, really only doing about like a whey isolate for a little bit extra protein if I need it, post recovery after workout, things like that, or if I'm on the run, if I need something, and then just like and then I do a pre-workout. I mean, that's pretty staple. That's pretty much where I get most of my creatine, things like that. And then I also like to do like an electrolyte blend, like just a scoop your sodium, potassium, just make sure I'm staying hydrated throughout the day. And yeah, that's pretty much it for supplements.
And what brand of the electrolyte blend are you taking right now? Like BioSteel or another one?
Um, I think it is BioSteel. I can't remember. It's like a Hydro Blast, it's called, or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the name, but it's just
I love
yeah,
their lemon lime flavor. So good.
mm, yeah. But I think it's important, right? Because you could be drinking, 4 liters, a gallon of water, but if you're not getting the right electrolytes to go with it, you're just flushing it out. So you're not actually retaining any of that water. And if you're an athlete, or you need to make sure that you're holding that water and utilizing it for your energy and your workouts.
And not to mention, right, when you're an athlete, something I totally neglected and I didn't realize it when I was younger because I was just afraid, right, is salt.
Mhm.
Athletes need more salt. Like just, like a half a teaspoon or whatever, right? Just put it in with your electrolytes or something like that. And again, I want to preface this also by saying like yes, extra sodium is not necessarily good for someone, let's say like my dad who's on medication, he's had a previous cardiac arrest, right? That kind of thing. So it's very dependent on kind of your current health conditions and all that kind of stuff. So you always re-verify with your physician, right? If you have any sort of health ailments first, right? Before starting any supplement protocol or taking any advice from anyone, is always consult with your physician and let them know like, hey, this is the kind of the new changes that I'm taking on and stuff like that. So, because again, we're just also speaking from experience, like that little disclaimer I had at the beginning of this episode. But for myself, and I'm going to do it after this too. Every time I just add a little bit of salt before I take my caffeine in the morning. That's what I was doing before. Boom, like game changer to the focus. Because like you said, if you're just taking flat water, whether it's sparkling or flat water, you're just flushing it all out, and it's just you just pee it all out. So it's like you're not really staying hydrated. But when you combine a little bit of electrolytes with some salt, it's been an absolute game changer. So it's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, and a big thing too, like I know it's hard in the Canadian healthcare, but if you have the opportunity to get blood work, do it. Like, um, there's nothing that will tell you more about your markers and everything than having a full breakdown of your hemoglobin, and that will give you the telltale signs of what's going on in your body, and some of the changes that you might be able to discuss with your doctor and make. So um, you know,
When's the
never shy
last
away from getting blood work done.
can you so yeah, if we're since we're in BC, speaking for to British Columbians, for example, like when's the last time you got blood work, and can you get it done at Life Labs?
So the last time I got it was when before going into school. So last year, I had to get like a full well, I had to get like sort of to make sure I had no like hepatitis C or anything like that. But I also asked if I could get additional blood work done as well to see all my other markers. And so my doctor's fine with it. It's just I think it's just like going out and like asking and like you can't just walk into Life Labs and get it, but
Yeah, you got to get a
um,
requisition. Yeah.
hmm but which is unfortunate. It would be nice to be able to pay and just get it if you wanted to know and do it more continuously, because instead of like going when you think something's wrong with you, because nobody likes to go to the doctor's office or anything like that, right? When we
Yeah.
want to try to avoid, a lot of people have that mindset of avoiding the hospitals. So unless you like are in dire need or but trying to like do something that you can minimize the effects or the ailments that you might be having beforehand, and then being able to treat them, so then you're not having to go when you're ultra sick. Like, I feel like that's something that we should try to transition into, but unfortunately it takes so many resources, and it's just not something attainable with our healthcare system right now,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, for sure. There definitely needs to be some improvements there. But, again, at the same time, they're doing the best they can with the resources that are at their disposal, right?
Yeah.
But I think the last time I did blood test was like 2021, and I did it. And the only thing I missed was doing the test for testosterone because it had to be done super early in the morning and fasted. So
Mhm.
I definitely want to do that again, but same thing. I got to go. I don't have a family doctor, and I've in Canberra River, and my family doctor that I did have in Nanaimo was he's been on leave and he's basically retired. So that's been the tricky thing because there's not really any walk-ins here in Canberra River.
Yeah.
Do you have any walk-in in? No.
Well, in Nanaimo, we have the one walk-in clinic, but it's basically like a first come, first serve. So if they're already, 4-hour wait, they'll just tell you to leave. And then just like they won't even give you like a time to come back. They'll just say we're not taking any more walk-ins right now.
Right.
So.
Or they'll put the sign on the door saying they're closed for the day.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the tricky part. So like we had better access when we first moved here, and now we've been here for 3 years, and it's kind of been getting tougher and tougher. If you don't already have a family doctor, you kind of got to go to a different jurisdiction to try and get in, like the next city over, or either Nanaimo or Courtenay. So, but I know I'll get that figured out eventually. But the biggest thing is preventative measures, prehab, right? Not wait for a problem to happen and then rehab, right? We don't want that shit. So
no.
But another thing I want to mention, you touched on it. We were chatting about it a little bit to prepare for this interview yesterday, but was getting out of a rut. So let's say someone goes through a breakup, or you're having lots of conflict in your relationship, or work's kind of in the shitter. Like, what are some ways that for yourself that have helped you get out of kind of that depressed state, kind of like, okay, like I just need to do a little bit of a 180. What have you done, or protocols that you've used to try to get out of that state or that mindset to change your state a little bit more quickly?
Well, I think one of the biggest hurdles, especially for men, is just like we like to just like hold our emotions in and we stay silent. So I think a big thing is just like sort of acknowledging that, something doesn't feel right, or something is amiss, and being able to express yourself, reach out to friends, family, and say that you have a problem. I think that's key, number one. And then next is just like finding, your passions, your hobbies, to be able to like just get your mind shifted and off just like that vicious cycle of like repeating through your head of like things that you think have gone wrong, and trying to like fixate on that, trying to just get your mind to go to other things that make you happy. Like I know one of the big things for me is like I love lifting weights. Always makes me feel good afterwards. I get that huge dopamine rush. Cold plunges, anything like that, yoga, finding those things that you love to do, whether it's hiking or being out in nature, and just trying to just get your mind to just focus on something else, something you enjoy. It's tough if you're going through like things with a relationship, because that's sort of your life partner, somebody that you really care about and love, and but you can't love somebody if you don't love yourself, and if you're letting yourself get into that darkness and deteriorate, it's you're not going to be able to rebuild that relationship back. So it's a lot of like self-care. Just I think that's a big thing, is trying to focus on yourself as well, not neglecting yourself.
Yeah, because if you focus on yourself and what makes yourself tick, and helps you wake up in the morning, like your own protocols that work for you, that you enjoy, but also you know how that makes you feel. Like nowadays, I'm like someone that likes to have that creative outlet. Like this is my creative outlet, and when life kind of feels like it's falling apart a little bit, our routines help anchor us, helps us stay centered amongst the chaos, because it can be chaotic sometimes in life. So I appreciate you sharing that. And and like biggest thing too though is like, as men, we don't typically tend to talk about things like Peter says, they're internalized, or we're just not ready to talk about it yet. So we'll maybe be silent about it for a while, and then maybe we're ready to talk about it. But especially when I have a friend that's like, I haven't heard from in a while, and normally I like to check in like, once a week kind of thing, or bi-weekly, right? I know it's not as much anymore, but as I used to, but just that check in, be like, hey, how's your week going? Sometimes that's all it takes, is to open the dialogue, and to when someone is going through a hard time, and to be like, hey, how's things been? I haven't heard from you for a bit. Are you doing all right? how's life, how's work, right? And then they might be more willing to open up to you and be like, hey, actually, I've been going through a rough time or went through a breakup. I'm in a bit of a rut right now. So, and then another thing, again, not a fit for everyone, but I'm someone that's super open about it. I do for my own sanity and just how my brain's wired. I got to do therapy. I do therapy once a month, and honestly, it's made me a better. It's made me a better man all around. It's made me a better communicator to my family, my friends, my wife. Made me like better communication between me and my wife, and then just a better thinker too. Like having someone that doesn't know you, right? Third party, that's not a friend or family member, that gets to see how you think through that like a unbiased lens. It really helps to understand yourself better. Okay, like what are my blind spots, and be like, oh, maybe I should have like thought about that a little bit differently, or I was too abrupt or too brash, or it just helps you think better, and just more and more awareness, and you're conscious of your thoughts and how you articulate those thoughts to those around you. So, and I think it's a very powerful tool. And again, it's not for everyone, or it might not just be for you right now, but you might want to explore it in the future. And nowadays, one of the biggest challenges that we're fighting is mental health challenges are very prevalent, right? It wasn't as much of the case was when our parents were growing up. That wasn't talked about, but now you peel back, right? COVID peeled back that curtain, and it's like, yeah, the world has a lot of challenges and the world has a lot of issues. And one of the biggest common denominators is people need help with mental health. They need help with the personal psychology and how to make that better. So finding all the tools and resources that we have at our disposal. I know it can be like the internet's a sea of information and it's very overwhelming and paralyzing sometimes, but knowing that you have help, knowing that there's resources out there to help, and just the fact that you can, number one, reach out to your family and friends first, because of course that's who you're going to be the most comfortable with. But then number two is to, you talk to your spouse, your partner, your loved ones. And then, anytime you're having challenges, it's just always just talk about it. Number one, just talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, we don't know the pain that you're going through, and then you can express that. So,
and I think a big thing with therapy too is that confidentiality, and just that safe place, right? It's like somewhere that you can open up, and that it's not going to be talked about with someone else, or spread around throughout your social group. So I think that's big, is just that safe, open environment that you can express yourself.
And that's the biggest thing, like the no judgment, right? Like, as men, especially men can't stand that shit. We just need that space where, like, okay, it's safe, we're good, we can talk about this. And it's also our psychology as a man. Like we don't want to feel like we're weak, right? This the whole society thing of like, we don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel like we're not strong enough, right? We want to be the man of the house. We want to help be the provider. It's just that whole instinctual psychology, right? Which it's not the way it is. It's not so much the way it is today as much. We don't need to be so obsessed about that, because there's more. We have help, right? Like it can't just be one man working for the entire household. It's got to be, everyone's got to work today.
Yeah.
Husband, wife, kids, everyone's got to work, because it's so bloody expensive to live. So knowing that we don't have to hold the entire responsibility, financial, personal, whatever, right? Knowing that we have help. We just have to know that we have help. We don't have to make it more difficult than it needs to be on ourselves, right?
Yeah. And I think it's something that's almost been like hardwired into our DNA, evolving over time. And I think it's just something that we need to, like, break that cycle and be more receptive to help, and that partnership, not just being so isolated. So and thinking that you need to do everything.
Because that'll just frustrate you. It just won't work long term. Everyone needs help. And then I always thought, oh my God, like, how does this person have it all together? Like, how are they doing so much? And it's like, the reality is, the truth is, they have shitloads of help. That's the
Mm-hmm.
reality. Like, everyone that's at the top of their game, even on their bad days, they have tons of help. They have coaches, they have trainers, they have therapists, they have everyone. Like, they're utilizing every resource, and that's the only difference. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to have millions of dollars to ask for help. You just have to be comfortable and open to asking for help. And when we're comfortable and open to asking for help and be like, hey, you know, like, I want to improve my psychology, I want to improve my physiology. Like, once we know, we just like, hey, I need to make some adjustments. Once we know that, and then we ask for help, then that's when we can make change. That's when we can adapt. That's when we can improve. I think the bottom line is most people, it's inherent in them that they are obsessed with improvement. Anyone that's done well, they're obsessed with improving, with getting better, with wanting to be better. It's just a like, mentality of like wanting to be better and wanting to be the best at what you do, and helping a ton of people do the same.
Yeah. And I think for some people that, they're successful, but if they're not getting that additional help, they're themselves are burning their ends at both ends of the candles, right? So, I know a lot of successful people that abuse drugs and things like that, and that's how they're able to work those super long hours, not get sleep, and so but over time, that wears down your body, and you can burn out from that. So, um, that's not a healthy way to do it either. Is that so? Try to avoid that if you can, and look for those healthier options.
Yeah, no, for sure. Another thing I want to mention was the similarity between the mental performance that you need in sport to in your career, and how those two come together. So, like, you've touched on it briefly, but like, how have you noticed that, like, being an athlete, because it does, being an athlete helps you to hone in and focus better, I feel like, because you're like, when you come from being an athlete, you're taught to hone in on a particular, right, like,
Mm-hmm.
in your particular sport, versus if someone's not an athlete and they're just going into work, right? When you go into work, like, everyone's taught in work to multitask and all that kind of stuff, but in actuality, that's killing productivity and it's killing your performance. But in sport, knowing that when you're in a sport and then you're transitioning to work, it's like you can get that kind of laser focus connection that you need a bit better, I feel like, because if you don't do that, you're not going to play your game to the best of your ability, because your intention is divided. So why don't you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think the biggest like things I could take away from it is, number one, I think the teamwork. I think that's the huge thing, is being able to talk with your coworkers or your teammates about sort of like how you can come together to create the bigger picture and the final product, and whether it's making the most sales or saving people's lives. You need that cohesive unit to achieve that. Another thing is just being able to adapt under pressure. When the game's on the line and it's tied, and being able to hone in, whether you have a full arena of people screaming at you or cheering for you, being able to take those emotions and being able to use it and not let it overwhelm you, and give you that anxiety. I think that's one of the key lessons, I think, that I would probably take away from my sports career, is being able to use that pressure and to strive in it, instead of letting it like take control, and then I just sort of freeze up and can't sort of perform.
Like, ride that wave of pressure, right? Flow with the pressure, rather than like let it take you over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Teamwork, keywords: teamwork, cohesion. Yeah, like cohesion and teamwork, and like thriving under pressure, and like learning from sport. Like, you're encountering those circumstances like frequently, so they transition to the workplace well, because you run into the similar scenarios at work too. They're different, that's not like sport, but it's you're like you learn from sport, like because you're in those circumstances and scenarios, and it's like you're a bit more prepared for it in a way.
Yeah, and it's the big thing too is that discipline. Doing that extra things, even outside of work, or, whether you want to advance in your career, is, you got to put in that extra time, effort. You do the same thing with sport. You want to get better at a sport, you're going to put in that extra time and effort. So it's really about, using that discipline to say, what do I want to get out of this? Do I want to, reach higher, or am I happy where I'm at? And, just seeing where you fit into that, and knowing, the more that you put into it is the more you're going to get out of it. And doing it properly, it's not, practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice makes perfect. Right. So,
yeah. One of my, actually Mr. Dodd middle school told us that. He's like, no, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if your practice and your process is honed in on, and you're doing that and it's dialed in, then it'll make perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But biggest thing is it'll help you prepare. Yeah, like preparation. Preparation is like my new thing now, as like just being as prepared as I can, and then researching all the different angles of how to be a better interviewer, podcaster, athlete and stuff. So, but last question, and then I'll let you go, Pete, because we're almost on the hour.
Okay.
Where do you see career and life taking you in the next 5 to 10 years? Or where do you want it? Where do you want to see things go or evolve?
Well, I want to earn my degree, get a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Like, that's number one, my goal, and I'm going to do everything I can to achieve it. And then hopefully transition. I've reached out to the armed forces, so if they can come with a deal where they might be able to pay for the last few years of my education, and then I can provide service for 2 years. So that's a route that I'm looking to explore and seeing if that's a possibility. Just something to transition and find that speciality, because being a registered nursing, you have a lot of different options. You can work in the community, hospital, pediatrics. There's a lot of different avenues that you can explore. So just finding something that really reaches out to me, and sort of something that I feel is my calling. But I'm still open. I'm still fresh to it. So I'm looking forward to experiencing as much as I can, and seeing where life takes me down this path.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm excited for you, bro. I miss you, and we'll definitely be visiting again soon. I want us to do Gold River golfing. That's still on the list. I've got it on the bucket list right now for the summer bucket list. So I got here. I'll share with you if you're online later for the schedule and stuff for August. I'm thinking like mid-August or something like that, because I got a 4-day weekend coming up here in mid-August. So
nice. Yeah. Let me know the itinerary, and we'll make it work.
We'll stack the day. We'll go golf, and then you and Aaron can stay for the night, and we'll have a good time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, bro.
Right on, brother. Awesome, stellar episode. And I'll be editing this and posting it. I'll send you the clips, share it on all your socials. Our last one, I think, did like 50 or 60 plays. So that was freaking awesome. And that was right after I posted it. So yeah, share it where you can. And we'll get it posted, and I'll send you the clips.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks as always, Alex. Always a pleasure talking with you, brother.
Hell yeah.
Love you, and I miss you, and looking forward to
Love you too, bro.
to hanging out in our golfing soon.
Hell yeah. It'll be a good time, man. Have an awesome game tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Ciao, brother.
Right. Take care.
Disclaimer. The information I provide to the podcast listeners of Mindset is based on my own research and personal experience. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Not all information is factual or has scientific evidence to support it. I am simply sharing the best information I can find and finding valuable content to help you improve your mental health and well-being. Please consult your doctor or therapist before trying any of the modalities I discuss on this podcast.
And this episode is brought to you by RadioGuestList.com, the #1 free radio guest, podcast, and talk show guest expert interview booking service on the internet. This episode is brought to you by PodcastGuest.com, connecting podcasters with great guests. Podcasters. Find relevant experts and other podcasters to be guests on your podcast. Experts, guests, and more. Get booked on great podcasts to expand your reach and audience. PodcastGuest.com connects podcasters with experts, authors, and other podcasters to be guests on their podcasts.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Mindset. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Your support helps us bring you more inspiring content and expert insights. Join our community on social media at mind.sep on Instagram, at mind-sep on YouTube, and visit our website, Alexander Muir, that's Amazon Mike, UIR.com/blog for more exclusive resources and updates. Until next time, keep optimizing your mind and body, and see you in the next episode. Dear listeners, I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Alex Muir, helping you flex your mind, body, and soul. And I just want to start off by saying, I appreciate you. I appreciate you listening to this podcast. I appreciate your feedback on my episodes and following the show. And I would like your feedback as well in the form of a short rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Spotify Podcast now has a rating and review section. So I would love your feedback on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, to help me attract great guests and to help me further the show and develop the show and improve the show. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed this episode. And again, you can reach out to me to give additional feedback on my blog. That's alexandermuir.com/blog. You can reach out to me on through my Instagram, through Facebook. All my links are in the show notes. And again, I appreciate you and thank you all for listening. Mindset's mission is to empower 30+ million listeners worldwide to achieve optimal mental and physical health through engaging podcasts, inspiring positive change for future generations.